everybody. It is I, the Nomad, coming to you live once again from the wastelands of the internet. How are you doing all? How are you all doing? I hope that you're all having a good day. It's been a heck of a week for me, folks. It's been a heck of a week. Right? Lots of chaos. Too much work, too many things to do, too much, well, quite frankly, procrastination on my part. But that's not the point. That's not the point of these things. That's not the point of these exercises. I hope that everybody's having a good day. Merry Christmas to you all. I will be trying to do a Christmas stream at some point on Christmas. We'll see how that all works out. But we have news that we need to wrap up in the interim. German Christmas market attack death toll rises to 4. Doctor 50 held after car smashed through a crowd is a quote-unquote ex-Muslim who fled Saudi Arabia in 2006. The death toll of a deadly Christmas market massacre carried out by an anti-Islam doctor who arrived in Germany in 2006 as a refugee from Saudi Arabia has now risen to 4, according to local experts. An adult and a toddler are among those killed in an anti-Islam doctor rammed into a massive crowd of shoppers at a Christmas market in Magdeburg around 7 p.m. on December 20th with his dark BMW. The initial death toll from the horrific attack on Friday evening stood at 2, although police are now reporting that there have been 4 deaths, according to the German newspaper Bild. It added that 86 people are receiving hospital treatment for serious injuries, while another 78 sustained minor injuries. Police were not immediately available to comment on the casualties. Okay. Now, I can hear people already going, anti-Islam. Anti-Islam doctor? What? He's from Saudi Arabia. Okay. Supposedly, this guy had supported supported the AFD, which is a far right group, a true far right group. Okay. Which is not a surprise. Okay. So, what are we looking at here? What is the issues that we're dealing with? All right. I think one of the things that you have to understand is who you're at war with. I have said this many times. You're at war with a 12th century cultural mentality. All right? You're at war with a 12th century cultural mentality. It's not specifically a war against quote unquote Islam. Although I don't discount that this was an Islamic attack. I can hear it now. No, man. No, man. What do you mean it wasn't an Islamic? It was an Islamic attack. How could it be an Islamic attack? This doctor was an anti-Islamic individual. Ah, yes. He was an anti-Islamic. Well, first of all, was he? We don't know. Okay. People say that about him. Okay. He also did seem to help women escape Saudi Arabia. Okay. It also could be that his view of Islam was different than the Sunni view of Islam, and therefore is the reason he fled. It also could be that he was very anti quote unquote Islamic. However, considering where he's from, it could be that the Islamists grabbed a hold of his family and said either you do this or your family dies. It could be a number of things. We don't know. You don't know. I hate to say this, but this could be a number of different reasons for this. It could be the guy just lost his freaking mind, and that he was a nut job. But I have said this before, and I will say it again. We're at war with a 12th century mentality. You can stand there and deny it. You can go, we're not at war with anybody. All right? No, you're just going to keep receiving attack after attack after attack from this 12th century cultural mentality and keep going, we're not at war. They are. They're at war with us. And sooner or later, you're going to have to come to an understanding of what it means to be at war. What a war really is. Germany's Scholz loses confidence votes, paving the way for elections. Not a surprise. The German Chancellor Olaf Scholz lost a parliamentary confidence vote on Monday, paving the way for snap elections in February intended to lead Germany out of a political crisis triggered by the collapse of his coalition. Gee, what a surprise. All right. Another country in chaos. Just like Canada is in chaos. Just like France is in chaos. It's almost as if, as the Reverend Wright said, the chickens are coming home to roost. Meanwhile, back in the U.S., missing radioactive material in New Jersey sparks drone theories. They're looking for something, mayor says. A New Jersey mayor warned Tuesday that the troubling drone sightings over the state may be linked to missing radioactive material, although federal officials say the amount poses no serious threat either way. Bellevue Mayor Michael Melham, I'm assuming I'm pronouncing it correctly, I'm not trying to mispronounce it, said the drones flying in a grid pattern over his Essex County township appeared to be looking for something. What might they be looking for? Maybe that's radioactive material, Melham told Fox's TV's Good Day New York. It was a shipment. It arrived at its destination. The container was damaged and was empty, Melham said. The NRC, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, issued an alert earlier this week regarding a piece of medical equipment used for cancer scans that was lost in transit on December 2nd while being shipped from Nazha Cancer Research Center, Newfield, Gloucester County, to southern New Jersey. The device, an Eckert and Ziegler model HEGL 0132, was to be properly discarded, but its shipping container arrived at its destination damaged and empty. The item, known as a pin source, contains a tiny amount of radioactive chemical germanium 68, which is used in PET scanners to calibrate accuracy. The radiation source is deemed less than a category 3 in the International Atomic Energy Agency's scale, which means it's very unlikely to cause permanent injury to individuals or contains a very small amount of radioactive material that would not cause any permanent injury. News of the missing equipment caused alarm on social media, with some Netzians instead of Desians, Netzians are speculating that the enigmatic probes or drones patrolling New Jersey skies are frantically scouring the area for radioactive waste. Okay. Um, Radioactive material is of concern not just for an atomic weapons, but for quote unquote a dirty bomb being produced. There are several radioactive isotopes used in medicine. All right. um, that could potentially be used to create a dirty bomb. Now, a dirty bomb, the actual damage isn't the issue; it's the fear factor involved in it. Okay, that's what people are terrified of, a dirty bomb. Now, it's been suggested to me that what they're looking for is powder. All right, if you get some kind of radioactive powder, all right, a large amount of it, you could spread it over a wide area and you could contaminate a wide area. This is this is true. Okay, it's theoretically possible to do that. It's not as easy as people think it is. Okay, I'm just putting it out there. Okay, a dirty bomb sounds nastier. All right, it sounds dangerous, and it theoretically it could be, but you're not going to construct such a device, in my opinion. All right, ad hoc. What I mean by ad hoc, I mean you're not going to have some Terry group going out there collecting the radioactive materials over time and then utilizing it. And the reason for it is what I just said, over time. The problem with acquiring radioactive material over time is radioactive material over time decays and becomes less radioactive. Okay, so you also gotta understand what when people say radioactive, what they're referring to. Okay, what is a radioactive material? Radioactive material is a material which emits an ionizing radiation. What is ionizing radiation? An ionizing radiation is something that grabs an electron or removes an electron out of the energy cell, the molecules within the body. Why is this dangerous? Because this is how DNA can get damaged, is if a molecule loses cohesion with itself, right, or becomes ionized, and then instead of maintaining the DNA chain, the DNA chain is broken as that molecule forms an ion pair with something else within the cell. Okay, so that's what you're dealing. That's what they're worried about, something happening with. Okay, now there's three types of material or radioactive radiation from material. There's gamma ray or a gamma emitter, in which case during the decay it emits a photon of gamma, a gamma photon. So the gamma photon can be then possibly taken into the body, right? And or the gamma photon could deposit the dose in the body somewhere and knock an electron completely out of the energy shell. All right. How likely is that to happen? Okay. Okay. Yeah, for a single photon, it's very rare. But for enough radiation, enough photons, it does happen. It's what we use for treatment, cancer treatment. All right. The other types of radiation are an alpha emitter or a beta emitter. A beta emitter is a free electron. The free electron then knocks another electron, all right, out of the molecular chain, or the free electron is temporarily captured, causing the molecule chain to actually have a negative ion capability, right? The other way is with an alpha particle. An alpha particle is the core of a helium atom, two neutrons and two protons. It's very ionization like. Okay, so what's the difference between them? The difference between the three radiations is shielding. More than anything else, when you're talking about the dangers and so forth, is shielding. You can stop an alpha particle with a sheet of paper. Okay? So if you stack 3 or 4 sheets of paper between you and the alpha particle, the likelihood of you receiving any ionizing radiation into the body is very small. Electrons are a little bit more energetic because they're smaller. All right, and they will go through depending upon the energy of which they're traveling. But it generally can be stopped by a piece of plastic. All right. Gamma rays are stopped by dense material, lead, tungsten, other types of alloys. All right. Now, all of these have what's known as half value layers because there's no perfect way of stopping either a particle or a photon energy, an energy in a higher frequency range. What you can do is put enough material to where most of the photons are stopped. Most of the particles are stopped. Most of the electrons are stopped. And we measure these via what they call half value layers. Okay, so you have an energy, right? At what point do you reduce the energy going through this material by half? And so you have half value layers. And of course, depending upon the energy that you are dealing with, all right, the half value layers will be different. So a material substance such as lead, which is very dense, all right, will still have different half value layers for the different energy states. Okay, now that we've gone through a nice small little lecture on radioactivity that nobody wanted to hear, all right, what does this mean for a dirty bomb? Well, a dirty bomb, what you're looking at to be an effective dirty bomb, you have to have a really high radioactive density of the material. A real high density of radioactive material to spread in a good dirty bomb requires a lot of radioactive material. Period. Gathering that much radioactive material here and there and over time wouldn't be effective. You would need to basically build the thing by itself. So if a dirty bomb ever does go off, I'm just warning people now. If a dirty bomb ever goes off, look to some state actor or some state player to have thrown it. It won't be done by a little small terrorist group, all right, that just got a hold of the material on its own. Just pointing it out. Okay. Lammy condemns desperate Russian threat against British journalists. David Lammy, the foreign secretary, has condemned the Kremlin's gangsta threat against the Times after the paper defended Ukraine's assassination of a Russian general in Moscow. And we'll have more on that one later. All right. Makes sense in that regard. Be careful because a lot of things happened in London, said Mr. Medvedev, all right, appearing to reference the fatal poisoning of Alexander Litvinenko, all right, a defected Russian spy in London in 2006. In an editorial, the Times called the targeted killing of Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, all right, head of the Russian military's nuclear and chemical weapons division in a scooter bomb attack on Tuesday, a legitimate act of defense by a threatened nation. Mr. Lammy said that Medvedev's threats smacks of desperation. Well, we'll see. Meanwhile, Ukraine unveils its new laser weapons. No, it's not theirs. It's the British. Okay? You Brits. And yes, I see you there, Jensen. All right, you Brits, look what you've caused. All right? Oh, but by the way, since you're here, Jensen, I'll just a little fan service for you. Just a little fan service for you while I talk about this. All right? Because I know Jensen and the Cat Girls will just a little fan service there. All right. Colonel Vladimir Shekarevsky, I'm not trying to butcher your name, but I'm not going to try and pronounce it again. All right. The commander of the Ukraine's unmanned systems forces said the laser would be capable of downing aircraft at a distance of more than 2 kilometers. It really works. It exists, he said to the European Defense Industry Conference, adding that efforts are underway to scale up its capabilities. He mentioned Ukraine the is only the fifth country to have high-powered laser weapons in its arsenal. So the British are busy giving laser weapons to the Ukrainians. All right. In April, Grant Shapps, a former British defense minister, said that the UK's Dragonfire laser could be used in Ukraine to counter Russian drones. He warned the advanced laser technology could have huge ramifications. All right, on the conflict. I think we're better off with the cat scenes. What do you think, Jensen? I don't think it's going to have any kind of situational conflict. Right now, both sides are doing whatever they can to try and gain positioning because everyone knows what's getting ready to happen. Right when Trump takes over and says, "No more weapons to Ukraine. You guys come to peace or else," because that's what's coming. Meanwhile, on the other front, Houthi missile attacks injure 16 in Israel's Tel Aviv. Pretty good missile attack from Yemen. A missile attack launched from Yemen on early Saturday morning struck a playground. Aww, where's the condemnation? Where's all the UN bitching and whining about the condemnation of hitting a school and targeting a school by the Houthi rebels? Hit a playground and a building in central Israel's city of Tel Aviv, causing minor injuries to 16 people, according to the IDF and the Magen David Adam, rescue service. The strike caused a crater in the playground and damage to the residential building. Video footage released by the MDA, the Army, and the Israeli media showed. Following the missile launch, sirens were activated across large areas of central Israel. The IDF said it identified the projectile, but it failed to intercept it. Okay, because no weapon defense system is ever going to be perfect. That's just what the results are. But let's ask a question. Why are the Houthis not being condemned by you Palestinian assholes? All right, for targeting a school, for targeting children. Why isn't it? Where are they? Where are they on Twitter? Sit up there, complaining all this stuff. Oh, children are dying. Oh, how dare they do something like that? Oh. What have you done? I'm complaining. That's what I'm doing. Top Russian general is killed in a Moscow bombing claimed by the Ukraine. A senior general was killed Tuesday by a bomb hidden in a scooter outside his apartment building in Moscow, a day after Ukraine's security service leveled criminal charges against him. A Ukrainian official said the service carried out the attack. Lieutenant General Igor Kirilov, the chief of the military's nuclear, biological, and chemical protection forces, was killed as he left for his office. Kirilov's assistant also died in the attack. Kirilov, 54, was under sanctions from several countries, including the UK and Canada, for his actions in Moscow's war in the Ukraine. On Monday, Ukrainian Security Service, or SBU, opened a criminal investigation against him, accusing him of directing the use of banned chemical weapons. Okay, you want to tell me which chemical weapon hasn't been banned? You see, these assholes, when they talk about banning chemical weapons, even include tear gas. It's a banned chemical weapon, can't be used in warfare. I'm serious. Police forces around the world have used tear gas continuously, but it's a banned chemical weapon. Did you know that? Did you assholes actually know that? Now, I'm not saying that that's the only thing that this jackass was involved in, all right? Now, who knows what he was involved in, all right? But these kinds of ridiculous accusations and excuses are just there to inflame things. They're not really trying to solve anything. It also shows how porous the and what kind of warfare you're dealing with, okay, in the Ukraine. I have said this many, many times. This is a civil war, folks. This is not a conflict between two states. The Ukraine was created as a state. Oh, look, we just drew lines on the ground. That's not how a nation can exist. It has to have defensible borders. And the Ukrainians are finding out they don't have any right now. Which is why they're doing attacks like this. Which is why they're doing these kinds of attacks. The fact that they can even carry out such an attack demonstrates, okay, that they're part of that population group. Just pointing this out. Meanwhile, back in the U.S., prison aide cops to Indiana lasagna smuggle. A nursing aide pled guilty to hiding cocaine and marijuana inside a frozen lasagna that she tried to smuggle into an Indiana prison where she worked, records show. During a Superior Court hearing this morning, Regina Davis, 47, copped to felony narcotics charges in connection with an incident earlier this year at the Indiana State Prison, a maximum security facility housing more than 2,000 adult males. The sentencing hearing for Davis, who is free on $1,500 bond, all right, is scheduled for January 31st. This woman is free on $1,500 bond, but tattooing a guy's shoulder, all right, or an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old shoulder, all right, with a tattoo, got a guy a $50,000 bond. Boy, we don't have a problem with our justice system in this country. No, not at all. Davis, who is licensed as a certified nurse's aide since 2003, was responsible for distributing medicine to inmates in the Michigan City lockup. In July, Davis, seen at the right, arrived for work one morning toting a batch of lasagna that a guard thought looked odd as it passed through the x-ray machine, according to the probable cause affidavit. A secondary examination of the Italian delicacy turned up several packages wrapped in electrical tape that contained cocaine, 3 ounces, and pot, 1.7 ounces. During questioning, Davis claimed not to know anything about it. I guess she changed her mind. All right. Later, she said that unknown individuals had threatened her safety and that that of her brother, who she said had just been released from a prison work release program in South Bend. Davis claimed that she was instructed to go with a black guy to pick up the drugs, some of which she admitted to wrapping herself. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. FBI raids the home of the LA deputy mayor who allegedly made bomb threats against City Hall. FBI agents on Tuesday raided the home of Los Angeles Deputy Mayor Brian Williams in connection with a bomb threat he allegedly made against City Hall earlier this year. A spokesman for Mayor Karen Bass said the mayor's office was notified of the search, according to a statement released Wednesday afternoon by Bass's spokesman Zach I don't know how to say their name. I'm not trying to butcher it. Williams was immediately placed on administrative leave. All right, the statement said. The mayor takes the matter very seriously. When the threat was reported, LAPD investigated and determined there was no immediate danger. Following additional investigation, the LAPD referred this matter to the FBI for investigation. Uh, According to the Los Angeles Police Department statement, the agency's initial investigation determined Williams was likely the source of the threat. Williams' attorney, Dmitry Gorin, said in a statement that Williams strongly maintains his innocence and intends to fight or to vigorously fight the allegations. More importantly, he has not been arrested nor charged and will continue cooperating with the investigation through his attorneys. Statement said. Oh, so you're cooperating through your attorneys? Yeah, that's always a way of cooperation. I'm cooperating through lawyering up and not answering any of your questions to the FBI. That, that, that's the best way we all know to sit up there and cooperate with an investigation. Lawyering up with the FBI. Best method ever to be used. What could possibly go wrong? Oh, a little extra fan service. A little extra fan service for the folks. More news from the U.S. 14 detained in armed Aurora, Colorado home invasions are likely illegal gang members, say police. I thought that these apartments were all cleaned out and then it was just a small little thing that was taken care of, Mr. Mayor. The police in Aurora, Colorado say that an overnight armed home invasion at a local apartment complex, the same one that was supposedly not overrun by Venezuelan gangs or temporarily, Martha McCallan, temporarily, it's already been taken care of, temporarily, Martha McCallan, all right? That resulted in 14 suspects being detained was without question a gang incident. Just before 2:30 a.m. on Tuesday, police were called to the Edge, all right, at the Lowry Apartments at the 1200 block of Dallas Street for a reported armed home invasion in which the victims were kidnapped and assaulted. Aurora Police Chief Todd Chamberlain said during a news conference that 13 to 15 people, mostly males, some females, entered an apartment where two people were inside. The police say that the suspects took the migrant victims, the illegal aliens victims, to another apartment at the same location. Almost like the apartment building is under the control of the Venezuelan gangs. I thought that this was all taken care of. All right. Threatened and bound. One of the victims, a man, sustained a stab wound but is expected to survive, police said. Both victims are still at the hospital for treatment of their injuries. Notice how they avoid saying what happened to the woman. I don't think she was just slapped around. At some point, authorities said the suspects released the victims, who then called 911. They were pistol whipped, beat, they were mistreated, Chamberlain said. So, does that fall into a category of torture for me? Yeah, it does. All right. This is without question a gang incident. I don't know what gang it is. What possible gang could it possibly be? I don't know. The mayor hasn't told me. I don't know. We need to leave more illegals in the country. You're a bigot if you don't think the illegals should be here. He did admit that there's a high assumption that it's the Tren de la Araga gang, right? But he stopped short of declaring which gang it was. Gee, what a freaking surprise that the media and Martha McCallum lied. Lied repeatedly to try and bolster the chances of good old Kamala Harris in her interview with Trump when Trump was saying this. What a surprise! Just like this. New York Police Department's top cop Jeffrey Madray abruptly resigns after allegedly demanding an underling perform sexual favors, including kiss his penis, all right, in exchange for overtime work. I'm going to give you overtime work. Here's your overtime work. The NYPD's highest-ranking uniformed officer abruptly resigned late Friday night after the Post uncovered explosive allegations that he demanded sexual favors from a subordinate in exchange for massive amounts of overtime. The chief of department, Jeffrey Madray, stepped down soon after the Post contacted the NYPD about Lieutenant Quathisia Epps' claims in an exclusive interview that he routinely preyed upon her asking for sex in the New York Police Department headquarters. He wanted to have anal sex, vaginal sex, and oral sex, Epps said. He was always asking me to kiss his penis. Madray, a close friend of Mayor Adams, will be replaced on an interim basis by Chief of Patrol John Chell, the New York Police Department said. Police Commissioner Jessica S. Titz accepted the resignation of the Chief of Department Jeffrey Madray on Friday night, effective immediately, said the department spokesman. The NYPD takes all allegations of sexual misconduct seriously and will thoroughly investigate this matter. Epps recently made headlines as the New York Police Department's top earner, pulling in a whopping $400,000, including roughly $204,000 in overtime alone last year for her administrative jobs in Madry's office. Payroll records show. Gee, I wonder what's going on. What could possibly be happening? There's no problems in the police departments. The police are not, criminal activity isn't on the rise. No. How could you make that comment? Demonic dad allegedly beheads a 1-year-old son with a knife after a violent attack on his wife, mother-in-law sheriff. All right. A demonic California dad. Gee, I wonder why this wasn't being reported by the in the California authorities, all right, has been arrested for allegedly beheading his 1-year-old son Friday in an early morning frenzy of violence that also injured his wife and her mother, according to police. Andre Dembski, 28, is accused of first attacking his wife and his mother-in-law just after 4 a.m., the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office said. All right. The two women fled the residence to await authorities. Dembski refused to answer the door for responding sheriff's deputies. They forced entry into the home upon learning that the tot was still inside with his father, who may have possibly injured the child after throwing him. Dembski was found uncooperative and physically resistive. Another scumbag. All right. He was booked and he's ineligible for bail, which is probably the only good thing. Now for my favorite twink of the world. Julian Assange documentary pulled from Sundance 2025. Director Eugene Yarrick cites unexpected developments. Julian Assange may be free now, but the WikiLeaks founder won't find himself on the big screen at next month's Sundance Festival after all. Just under 2 weeks after the Robert Redford created Snowy Shindig unveiled the bulk of its 2025 program, Assange-centric documentary The $6 Billion Man has suddenly been withdrawn from the festival. Directed by two-time Sundance Grand Jury winner Eugene Urecki. All right, I'm not trying to pronounce your name. And the Kathleen Fournier produced TSBDM. Oh my god! All right, was supposed to have its world premiere with its special screening in Park City during the January 23rd to February 2nd festival. On the surface, a film about Assange had great timing this year, especially in the high profile market like Sundance. After years and years fighting the US government and others over the 2010 leaking and distribution of highly classified material related to activity by an American military in wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, Australian born Assange and his lawyers struck a deal in June that got him out of prison in the UK. Under the agreement, Assange pled guilty to one count of illegally disseminating national security material in a settlement with the Justice Department. In exchange, Assange got his freedom after 5 years of incarceration in Britain. All right, saw the threat of the 175 years behind bars and extradition to the United States lifted, and traveled back to his home down under. I thought that the Australians weren't going to accept him back. What a surprise that they did! With rumors swirling of some sort of controversy enveloping the film about the controversial Assange, Yarecki spoke out today on the highly unusual circumstance of the film being removed from the program like this. The truth is, a significant recent and unexpected developments have emerged at the heart of the story, which, if not incorporated into the version for Sundance, would not represent a finished film, the director said. Sundance has shaped my career and has been the cornerstone of my journey. Only something of this magnitude could make me withdraw. Which makes everybody go, what changed? Of course, did they bother saying anything? Okay. Julian Assange has faced possible 175 years in prison for exposing U.S. war crimes. That's a lie. Okay. In fact, the biggest problem that I have with assholes like Julian Assange is you don't give a shit about war crimes. If you're worried about war crimes, why aren't you constantly trying to expose Russian war crimes? You don't think the Ukrainians have committed a series of war crimes where their civilian population was busy poisoning people? What about those war crimes? It amazes me how these people, when they talk about war crimes, they just kind of invent them in their own minds. Back to the U.S. Liz Cheney goes nuclear over GOP demand she face a criminal probe. A report released Tuesday by GOP leaders issued a harsh rebuke of the failures and politicization of the now disbanded House January 6th committee and recommended a criminal investigation into former Wyoming Representative Liz Cheney, one of the panel's leading voices. Speaker Nancy Pelosi's multi-million dollar select committee was a political weapon with a singular focus to deceive the American public into blaming President Trump for the violence on January 6th and to tarnish the legacy of his first presidency, Republicans in the 128-page report declared. In addition to the recommendation that the FBI open an investigation into Cheney's actions, the report accused her of witness tampering, all right, for being in touch with the former White House aide and committee witness Cassidy Hutchinson. However, Cheney wasted no time hitting back on the report's conclusion, calling them lies. All right, what were they lying about? While lashing at President-elect Donald Trump as a cruel and vindictive man. You better hope he's not. You better hope he's not, Liz, because you're committing crime after crime with what you were doing. All right, and if they flip Cassidy, and I think it's real easy to flip Cassidy, all right, into what those freaking conversations were, Because, see, Cassidy's in trouble for lying under oath. They can clear her with, they can come back and say, oh no, I had conversations and this was being suggested by these people over there. Now, is it enough to actually convict Liz Cheney? To be honest, I don't think you can believe a liar like Cassidy. All right. So unfortunately, if I was on the jury, I would let, and that's all the only evidence you have. All right, is this person claiming that this was what she said, but there's no other evidence that that was true. You have to let her go. Wish it was otherwise. Minnesota man charged for refusing to remove MAGA hat at a polling place. A Donald Trump fan who refused last month to remove his Make America Great Again hat while at a Minnesota polling place was charged yesterday in a misdemeanor complaint. Police say that Christopher Vilwalk, 34, was wearing a hat displaying the slogan, all right, of a candidate appearing on a ballot for a presidential election when he showed up at a polling place on November 5th. Vilwalk was repeatedly asked to remove his hat by polling supervisors and election judges, according to the December 17th court filing. Villock became confrontational and would not abide by the numerous requests to leave the polling place. He was eventually removed by officers, all right, with the Mankato Police Department. Police review of surveillance footage showed Villock ignoring election officials and walking up to and requesting citizens or questioning citizens who were attempting to vote at the time. As a result of the disruption, a long line of voters formed, with officials being forced to redirect voters away from the situation while simultaneously addressing Vilwalk. Pictured above in a Facebook photo, Villock was charged with misdemeanor for allegedly violating the state's Fair Campaign Practice statute. The count carries a maximum penalty of $300. Villock, who lives in Patriot Drive, Mankato, has posts on his Facebook urging support for Republican candidates and detailing the supposed side effects of fluoridated water. Another post shows a handwritten sign declaring all three-letter agencies need to be defunded and be abolished. The only question I have is if this guy was running around talking to people that were in line, okay, you are causing a disruption. If they were just saying, you have to remove that hat or you have to get out of here, crap, I'm sorry, but you have the right to wear paraphernalia. Okay? You have the right to wear it. This will be an interesting to see where they go with this. Most likely they'll drop it in a few days. But it is Minnesota, the land of Waltz, the land of Tampon Tim. Starbucks. Starbucks union authorizes a potential U.S. strike. And Teamsters say momentum continues as a Christmas strike against Amazon enters its second day. As Teamsters cross country Christmas time strike against Amazon enters its second day on Friday, the union said that the momentum continues to mount as workers seek fair treatment from the online retailer. Amazon Teamsters movement grows bigger and stronger every day and will not be stopped, said the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, said in a statement posted on social media late Thursday. Workers affiliated with the Teamsters began striking in Amazon facilities across the country early Thursday. The union said thousands of workers were walking off their jobs at facilities in New York, Atlanta, Southern California, San Francisco, and Illinois, but did not provide specific numbers. Okay. So you're going to try to play the game of let's screw up people's Christmases, and that will make us endear us to the public. That's what you're doing. That's the kind of people you want. Let's ruin everybody else's Christmases because I want a fair wage. Less work for more money. Union, union. Look for the union label. Oh, you just don't understand, no man. You don't understand the predatory practices of these people. Oh, I understand it fully. All right. And you guys in the Teamsters group, okay, the real damage done isn't the guys at these warehouses who are heavily worked. And it's mind numbing, back breaking type of work. You will soon find yourselves on the unemployment lines. And I'm warning you, idiots, okay, who are driving those big rigs. You'd better be very, very careful of what's coming to come with AI. Because the first people who will begin to be replaced, the first people who are going to begin to be replaced will be long haul truckers. Understand this. The new driving technology makes you guys far more vulnerable than you realize. Long haul trucking companies, all right, are more than willing to sit up there and start saying, you know what? We can create little warehouse facilities in several areas and have these things driven from these little warehouse areas, all right, so that the short haul truckers can take care of these things. It's a matter of time, folks, before they start doing that. And as long as they're on the freeways going back and forth, believe it or not, they don't have to worry about things. The only thing they've got to worry about right now, quite frankly, is these checkpoints that have been put up by the the National Transportation Safety Board, the Transportation Department. Those stops that they're supposed to go in there to check weight and so forth. But there'll be deals with them pretty soon where their trucks don't have to stop and then everyone else's gets to go. Expect it, folks. Expect it. Under certain routes, that stuff's not going to be checked. Pornhub is pulling out of Florida. Oh, the horror. At the dawn of the new year, Pornhub will leave Florida thanks to harsh new age verification law that takes effect on January 1st. The porn giant will no longer do business in the Sunshine State. The law mirrors similar laws passed in other Republican led states where Pornhub has stopped doing business. Users in Florida visiting Pornhub have been treated to a fun pop up in recent days. You will lose access to Pornhub in 14 days, reads Windows that dominates the screen on the site where it's accessed from an IP address in Florida. Did you know that your government wants you to give your driver's license right before you can access Pornhub? As crazy as it sounds, it's true. You will be required to prove that you're 18 years or older, such as by uploading your government ID for every adult content website you like to access. It was repeatedly promised the GOP is fighting pornography in many states. It's winning in Oklahoma, Kentucky, Texas, Montana, North Carolina, Arkansas, Utah, Mississippi, Virginia, and Louisiana. A citizen who wants to access an adult website has to prove that they're 18 years old by showing a government ID. The Florida law, HB 3, the law is broad. It requires a website that provides material that is harmful to minors to provide a means of anonymous age verification to its minors. What does it mean for material to be harmful to minors? According to the law, any material that the average person applying contemporary community standards would find, taken as a whole, appeals to prurient interest. There's a lot of wiggle room in this, in that. Such ill-defined speech laws have long been used in America to suppress speech and attack people who say things that people don't like. Bullshit. Okay, it's it has been used in profanity laws. It has been used in pornographic laws. All right, but it has never been used to suppress political speech. This is the kind of bullshit that you run into. Okay? Now, do I care? No. Because I think it's perfectly reasonable if the community wants to do that and has a community standard such as we don't want pornography to put that into implement that. To implement saying, look, this is an adult thing. We're going to have to do something to make sure that minors don't have access to it. Is it a stupid rule in the sense that anybody with a VPN can sidestep this? Just pointing it out. It will drive people to use more VPNs. All right. It will cause other issues. All right. However, because at some point, someone is going to be caught accessing porn. A minor is going to be caught sooner or later accessing a porn site that asks for verification using a VPN when the police are raiding for something else like drugs, and at which point they're going to try and hammer these people even more. Let's combine rules. No effing politician. All right. It's there comes a point of what is enforceable and what isn't. Okay, that's really what it's coming down to. Public versus private viewing. You're not going to be able to look at things in a private setting. You're not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to get around the fact that trying to prevent private viewing is impossible. It's always going to happen. And I'll bet it comes down. It's going to come down to a person viewing porn, you know, like protected stuff. Good morning, James. That's what it's really going to come down to. Most likely, somebody will say this person over here is accessing child porn, and an investigation will start into that individual. Now, what a lot of people don't understand, okay, is they think that just because you use a VPN, your data is completely secure. It's not, folks. And I'm not going to talk about where the flaws of that are, but it's not as secure as people want it themselves to believe. There are ways to do things. And if the police are really interested in what's going on your computer, there are methods they can use to figure out who you are. The idea that somehow, well, this person's using a VPN so the police can't track him, you're wrong. Okay, I'm just pointing this out to you. You're wrong. There are ways they can still get this. It's more difficult. Okay, of that, you're 100% true. It's more difficult, but it's not impossible. Just pointing it out. Okay, two stories left. New DA in LA, all right, Nathan Hochman, all right, says Menendez brothers' lawyer's narrative is absolutely wrong, vows to enforce sanctuary laws against Trump and deportation threats. Dude, you're going to jail. Okay? You attempt to actually stop this, you're going to end up going to jail. Right? Up on the top floor of the halls of justice. The Los Angeles District Attorney's Office has little of the grandeur of the rest of the nearly 100-year-old ornate building itself would suggest, as the newly sworn in Nathan Holcomb himself points out. I wonder why all the windows are facing upwards. Why they had what looked like bars on them, said the former U.S. Assistant Attorney General. I discovered this used to be a county jail before the building was reopened in 2015. All right. He adds with a laugh. Okay. Just a few days into his term after a landslide victory over one-termer George Gascon. Now, Gascon was kicked out because not because he was he was a fellow Democrat. All right, that's not why he was kicked. He was kicked out because he was letting criminals go. Okay, just putting it out there. All right, he was letting criminals basically run everywhere, and people got sick and tired of it. Now, one of the things that's been coming on and people have been talking about are the quote unquote Menendez brothers who are in jail because they killed their parents, okay, in a vicious killing. Now, after they killed their parents, they took the quote unquote inheritance that they got because their parents were now dead and went on a wild freaking hedonistic spree. But as the investigation continued, it became obvious that the killers were the kids, who then attempted the novel thing of saying, hey, I was abused sexually. So they claimed that their father abused them sexually and that their mother refused to believe them, so they had to kill them both. So therefore, they should be let out of prison. And there's this whole thing about, they served their time. Look, I'm not saying that their father did or didn't do things. I don't know what they claim is real evidence, okay, of this. And I'm not saying their father wasn't a degenerate. Maybe he was abusing his boys. I don't know. I do know this. You put people in prison because they're a threat to society. And whether you find the actions, all right, of these kids understandable because, their father was at some point had been abusing them. To say that these two are not a threat to society, I think is completely wrong, especially considering the fact that if they were the victims, as you constantly portrayed, they would have sit up there and done what they did and then immediately sit up there and told the police exactly what they did and why. But they didn't. Okay. Oh, I was so embarrassed about it, I couldn't actually talk about it. That was the reason I didn't tell the police why I killed somebody. You got to the point where you used an extreme thing, but then we're still so embarrassed about the fact that you couldn't tell the police. Trial by polar bear. At the same time as the Menendez days captures headlines and social media posts, Hulkman faces other high-profile cases, including a depleted staff, getting his own team in place, and Donald Trump's return to the White House with promises of mass deportations. Oh, I'm not going to let Trump sit up there and tell me what to do. I'm going to sit up there and resist this to the things, and I'm going to sit up there and I'm going to put an end to it. Okay. My guess is this guy's going to make a lot of. I made the statements are already out there. The feds are here to arrest you. What illegal aliens have I tried to protect? That's what he's going to do. He ain't going to do shit. Okay? He ain't going to do shit. He's going to do exactly what Trump tells him, where he's going to end up going to jail. My guess is he'll do whatever he says because that's what these guys are. They're a bunch of frauds. Okay, final story. Final story of the day. Virginia home gets unexpected owl tree topper. That's a big frickin' owl. All right. 'Twas a week before Christmas, and perched on the tree was an unexpected visitor as majestic as it can be. This beautiful barred owl decided to play Santa and drop in literally through a chimney of a local home and declared himself the newest star on top of the Christmas tree. All right, look closer, you'll see that it knocked the old star over to make room for itself. Sergeant Murray answered the call, gently capturing our feathered friend and safely releasing it back into the wild. Um, I'm just putting it out there. That is a big owl. This is not something like a little barn owl. All right, the beautiful barred owl decided to play Santa. All right, it was ultimately released, but it's not the first time that an owl decided to rest atop a Christmas tree in recent months. In October, an owl found its way into a Georgia mansion and found refuge on top of the tree. All right, I'm just saying, these things are becoming quite quite the little critters, right? As they get around. Um, a 106-year-old woman stays young with positivity is Fireball whiskey. She says. An interesting story, I guess. All right, a spherical egg auctioned for $250. A perfectly spherical egg. All right, I wonder what laid that. All right, should we take a look at that? Let's go take a look at what is this. This perfectly spherical egg. It was donated to a British charity, right, in Britain. An egg bought from a supermarket was donated to a British charity and fetched $250 at auction due to an unusual feature. Its almost perfectly spherical shape. The egg was originally found in a dozen bought from a grocery store in Ayr, Scotland. All right, and was originally purchased by Lambourne, Berkshire resident Ed Powell. All right, for $187 via auction house. All right, Thompson Roddick Callan. He said he bought the egg on impulse after having a few drinks and donated the egg to the Luventus Foundation, a charity that supports young people in Oxfordshire. The charity group sold the egg as part of a fundraising auction on a website of 32 auctions. The foundation official Roz Rapp said the auction, which included bidding on dozens of other items, raised a total of about $6,250 for charity. Okay, I think it's kind of interesting, but it doesn't tell me where the egg is from. Tell me where the egg is from. It's like a chicken egg? All right. I think that's all I'm going to have to go for today. It's going to be a long day today. There's a lot going on. Hope you all have a good day. Thanks for coming out, everybody. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye bye, everybody.